Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tristan's Cozy Corner. Today I decided that I was going to finish sewing this fleece blanket that I started a while back. I really loved this leaf pattern here, and I got this lovely, I believe this was an Eddie Bauer plaid pattern before Joanne Fabrics went out of business. I've been sitting on this fleece for a while, and I bought enough to make 3 blankets with it. Unfortunately, the Eddie Bauer fleece, there's only enough for 2, and then I have a different plaid that I used for the 3rd blanket, but I really loved this pattern. I wish I had bought more of this fleece or had more money to get more so that I could use it for more things. I like sewing things as well as all my fountain pens. Originally, I kind of wanted to make the blankets to sell them. I don't know if that's going to be a realistic expectation. The price that I would have to sell the blankets for is somewhere around like $60 a blanket. And I mean, the fleece itself is about half of that cost, right? So the fleece cost me about $30 to get the 4 yards of the fleece that I needed. And then it takes me about 2 hours to fully make a blanket. The sewing part is usually the quickest, depending on if I have made any mistakes while I'm doing the stitching. And so it really depends on all of that, how much time exactly it takes me, but I figured it takes about 2 hours, and I did a little worksheet with Etsy to determine exactly, how much it, officially costs me to make the blankets, and, after the cost of the thread and my time and everything, if I am to make like $15 an hour, which should be, minimum wage for people should be much higher than that. If we're to keep up with inflation and everything at this point, and especially based on, there's a bunch of articles that I've read about not just inflation, but how the price of everything has changed over the years since like the 50s or the 60s, even the 80s technically. If the minimum wages has raised as much as the cost of living has raised over the years, we should be somewhere around like $60 an hour minimum wage. And I can't name that article, obviously, because I haven't, I don't remember where it was that I read that, and so that could be completely wrong for all I know. I never did any research into it. I just said, well, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately, in the US. So, why bother sitting there and dwelling on it and feeling, feeling a certain kind of way about it when I could just move on and look to some other feelings. So anyways, that's a whole nother story. But so if I was to make the bare minimum of like $15 an hour for my time, it takes me 2 hours to make the blankets, the fleece, and the thread and everything, putting all that, the cost and everything in the spreadsheet, it should cost me about $60 to make a blanket. And that's not even including like any profit or anything. That's like literally just the cost of my time and the supplies. And I don't think many people will want to pay $60. I don't know. I have yet to put anything up on Etsy just because it's one of those things. I don't want to start putting stuff up there and paying the fees. That's the other thing. Then there's fees also to put stuff up on Etsy and listing fees. And so every time, I think you can list stuff for about 4 months, unless that's changed since I first looked this up. And then your listing expires, and then you have to pay a fee again to list again. And so to me, it didn't really seem worth it to keep listing stuff. I'd have to list for closer to like $75. And then depends on what shipping is going to be, right? To ship these things to people. The $75 might cover shipping more, but then that would eat into any potential profits that would be out there if I were to turn this into a business. If I'm literally just getting back the cost of my time and the cost of the supplies and everything, then I guess, if that's my only goal, it's not, the end of the world. But the jump from $60 to $75 is significantly larger. So I don't know. You guys can let me know if you think someone would pay $60 or $75 for one of these blankets. I'll show you the finished product. But I kind of just wanted to show this off. I've been wanting to do a video of me sewing for a while, but I'm not very well versed in all of the recording and like editing techniques and everything. So speeding through the sewing part so that you don't hear, the sewing machine going here as I start to go. Obviously that's kind of loud, and that's not something that you want to listen to for a good, however, say 30 minutes, however long it's going to take me to do this. So once I figure that out, I might do more sewing videos where I can kind of speed through that and do a voiceover. But for now, I'm just doing a simple zigzag stitch on here. I'll try to show this a little better. And so you can see kind of just a simple zigzag stitch in here. And I like this process a lot better than doing the tie blankets that people would do, because the tie blankets, they always, for me at least, they always end up coming untied. Not only do they always end up coming untied, but the ties end up tickling me a lot. And I find that the tickles and everything from that, it just it itches, and maybe I'm, somewhere, I don't know if that, someone told me once, and so again, I've never been diagnosed, and I don't know how true this is, but someone told me once that that's kind of like an autism trait, or somewhere on the spectrum with that. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if you have people who have weird texture issues or anything, and the tickle thing, they can't handle clothes that tickle them, it is, I would say it's great for that, because you don't have those ties to tickle you, and so that makes that significantly better, at least in my viewpoint. So all of my blankets that I have been doing this. I have been sewing them so that they are nice. They're sewn. They don't come untied on me. The stitches don't ever come undone. And not only do I sew the outsides, but I also sew a grid, just once down the middle long ways and once down the middle wide ways. So that the blanket, because the other thing that we found with those tie blankets a lot, we found that they ended up, the middle would get all jumbled up, and you would have to try to, pull it and straighten it out every which way. And so this way that doesn't happen when you sew across all of them like that. So there's that. I am sewing, and I don't know how much of this we can see. If I go a little zoomed out more there, I am sewing on a Bernina machine. My Bernina is a pre-loved machine that I got at a steep discount, since it was pre-loved and like a 10-year-old machine. Right before the Bernina 990 came out, people were selling their older machines. This one is an 880. It is a great machine as far as I can tell. I absolutely love it. It does embroidery as well as sewing, and that was something that I wanted to get into, was machine embroidery, because I wanted to be able to add embroidered touches to things. I had played around with the thought of embroidering the blankets a little bit, but the fleece is a little thick for that. And generally I have a bunch of patterns, patterned fleece that I have been sewing, and so there hasn't really been room or a good place with the patterns to embroider anything yet. So I've just kind of been going and working with the fleece that I have, and just, sewing them like that. So this is a great hobby if you enjoy creating things. Sewing is really another great hobby of mine, and it doesn't, I mean, to a degree, you have to have some artistic talent, but for me, it gives me a sense of accomplishment that otherwise I don't get from other artistic pursuits. Like, I'm not a visual artist, I can't draw well. I can draw, obviously, everyone can draw, but I can't draw well, and to the, um, what's the word that I'm looking for? I hope this happens to everybody. Not, I don't hope it happens to everybody else, but I hope that I am not alone and other people understand the, like, just not being able to find the word you're trying to think of a lot. So, I get flustered because the picture in my head when I'm trying to draw something visually never matches what I end up putting out on paper myself. And that's something that really frustrates me because, I have this great grand picture in my head, and then when I try to put it out on paper, it's a stick figure. So, anyways, so sewing is a hobby that I can, what I picture in my head is what comes out in the actual product, and that gives me a greater sense of accomplishment than most other artistic pursuits. Um, so there's that. So thank you guys for joining me here. This is a shorter video in Tristan's Cozy Corner, and it will be quite a cozy corner once I finish this blanket here. I might be giving it to or selling it to my significant other's mother, as she is looking for another blanket at this point. I gave her, I sold her the other one. She wanted to help me out with my endeavor as trying to start a business selling the blankets. So she bought one of the first ones, and it was actually the same fleece combo. So I might be selling this one to her again. If she wants another one, she had mentioned previously that she wanted a second one, possibly. And so that's a possibility. But if not, and I do get this up on Etsy, it'll be there for others to take advantage of if they want to buy it off of me. Um, or, I might end up doing craft shows at some point, and selling it in person, so then, I won't have to add shipping or anything onto it. But it'll be quite cozy in the corner with this blanket. If I end up using it, or someone else, whoever ends up using it, hopefully it is nice and cozy and warm and brings them much joy. So thank you for joining me again, and I hope you guys have a great evening.